This podcast is for the sales professionals at every level. If you want to convert more prospects into paying customers, then you're in the right place. Because Joe has spent the last 3 decades mastering buying behaviors, personality types, emotional and logical triggers. This is the Sales Genius Podcast. It's only a numbers game if you want educated. It's time to get educated. Let's go! Educated. Wanna learn how to close deals? Wanna learn how to sell more? That's what we're here for at Sales Genius. Let's go!
Welcome back to the Sales Genius Podcast with me, Joe Ingram. Today, thrilled to have Philip, goes by Pip, we're going to call him Philip anyway, Meranto to join us. Born and raised in Las Vegas, Pip has lived a life marked by reinvention, from being a pro skateboarder to a successful nightlife entrepreneur, and now as an inspiring life and business coach, which we all have both. Right. And so Pip will share the mindset shifts that have helped him thrive and show us how to embrace authenticity, overcome barriers, and redefine what success means in our life. So before I bring him up for our stepping into our authenticity, right, and cultivating an unstoppable mindset, let's grab some VIPs. Brian Galkey, Coach Dan in the house. JR is here. And Philip, welcome to the Sales Genius Podcast. Switch places with me. There we go. All right. I'm going to throw up a link tree for Philip. For those of you that as we go on, you're going to be like, I need to know more about Philip. It is down below, link tree, and his name, Philip Meranto. Philip, welcome to the Sales Genius Podcast. Thanks for carving time out of your day. I want to start with a question. Okay. All right. So you've discussed... That's a good word, right? You successfully reinvented yourself multiple times, right? What does it take mindset-wise for you to take on the new identities, right? Because I'm going to say, what's the buzzword that went all through COVID while people were at home trying to tell everybody that they're multimillionaires on Clubhouse, right? What they ended up doing was saying, Brian, why are you laughing? Yeah, because we know those people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we were like, we got broke ass people in rooms that says you gotta have at least $1 million before you join the room. And we're like, that guy? Shut up. Yeah. But it takes something. And everybody said, you know what? I have the ability, but I feel that I am not being true to myself. I'm putting it out there. And Brian, what's the word that everybody used?
Authentically? I don't know.
No. Everybody just said, I'm not who I'm saying I'm going to be. I am faking it, right? And I'm not yes. And so, I mean, we had room topics that went on and on because they said, I am not me and I'm the wrong person and I'm pretending to be somebody else. And I need to overcome this so that I can become authentically me and be the person who's not sitting back and saying, I have an identity issue. What does it take to do that so your brain understands that you don't have this imposter syndrome?
Well, I think first, for sure, is to realize imposter syndrome is going to happen. So learning to work with you instead of against you. But me personally was being more intentional with things. Never realized how much we go into situations just subconsciously and engaging into things subconsciously. So me getting more aware of what is, or even defining the term, what is the identity I want to be and stuff like that. And kind of, I created these 5 A's. It's called the 5 A's to heal and thrive. And those have kind of helped me implementing in different areas in life. But I think identity work is true. Every single day we're filling out an identity, whether we're aware of it or not. So I think to get people very clear on what is that identity they even want to fill out or become, and kind of start putting in the work towards that realistically. But yeah, that's really what's kind of the main thing was the intentional was being huge for me.
Okay, so you're saying I have to intentionally be who I want to be, right? Because this is where most people get stuck. The answer is, right, so what do we say? Act as if, right? Push yourself forward. I got to go say I'm the expert when I haven't done anything, right? And so I'm trying to put it out there. How do we adjust accordingly? right? And then maybe it is your A's. I don't know, but
So, I mean, yeah, the number one A is always going to be, I think, one of the most important is self-awareness. You have to be aware. If you're not aware, how can you optimize? So just getting very aware of the accountability you need to be, but also for a little bit more with salespeople, we also have to understand situational awareness, be able to read people, read the rooms, what's going on, other human behaviors. So I would like to say, you know what I mean, the number one A is just super important. I think so many people get to, which is the number four A is action and some of these other things, which is great. I mean, I think action cures all, but you have to get aware. And then the second one is going to be accepting. I think it's huge. You have to accept where you're at. A lot of the books, everything I've read, a lot of people talk about these certain things, but I don't think they've ever put it together in this type of system. But yeah, awareness is going to be number one. Acceptance, you have to accept where you're at. You have to admit the truth. You have to admit where you're at, and you got to face reality. The third is going to kind of be what I talked about a little bit before is intentional. You have to acknowledge. Acknowledgement is a form of intention for me. So acknowledging, being more intentional, what I want to see. And then the fourth, like I mentioned, is action, going right into action. I think action literally cares all. You're either going to be thinking about progress or your emotions, and you can't have both. So I love to see people more in action. And then the fifth is going to just be adapting. While you're in action, we have to start adapting to things that are being thrown at us, things that we're going through, and stuff like that. So those 5 A's has really helped me in a lot of situations, whether it was the healing side, overcoming some things, whether it's losses or addictions and stuff like that, or just trying to get to the next level on the thriving side. So those 5 A's have really helped me out a lot. And that's what I work on a lot of with clients, how they can implement that into their life, because I tell a lot of people they might know it, but that doesn't mean you understand it. And just because you know something doesn't mean you understand it. So the level of understanding and getting them to understand it in their life, I think is a huge piece.
Question for you. I was talking with somebody who was struggling with that. They want to start social media. They want to start doing videos and everything. And so they're like, I'm afraid to do it. So I recommended to them the book, The Alter Ego Effect. Are you a fan of that book?
I've heard of it, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
It's who can you become temporarily to do the things that you need to do. So going back to what we were talking about, self-awareness, if you keep saying, well, I'm not that person, but you can be that person for a period of time. And so they talk about different celebrities. Like one of the guys pictures himself as Jason from Friday the 13th every time he walks on the football field. And it's not to kill people, but he wants to be unstoppable. And then when he walks off the field, he's done with it. So he has that awareness of knowing, like, I can't be there all the time, but he could temporarily play a role to help him achieve the goal.
Yeah. Right. So the mental mask, right?
Yes. Yep.
So you turn around and do it. So one of the things Dan and I got together over the weekend, and while we were talking, right, one of the things I said was I used to have a ring that I had on my right hand, and that ring looked very similar to this, where it was just a silver ring, but in one spot there was a little Superman logo, right? And so then, don't laugh at me, Brian. Right. So then Brian's Batman, I'm Superman. That's how we roll. Yeah.
Horrible reference.
Yes. So as you look at it, right, you take the anytime I needed to be in power, be in state, be unstoppable at that point, I would turn the ring over, and I had programmed my mind that when I saw the Superman symbol, it was showtime. Right. And Tony Robbins talks about it where they empowered a jacket, right? Where somebody put it on, when every time you put on this jacket, you felt unstoppable. And Dan will tell you, my thing was, that's Brian Galkey with his vest, right? So when Brian goes to speak, he's always got a vest on, and that's his armor that he puts on to feel powerful and go forward. But you can assign that to different things that will trigger your brain to put you in the state that's there, and there's things to go through it. But to me, that's what I always look at, and like, okay, if it's time to go, boom. And then my ring would start to move when I didn't realize it. And then I'd be working at my desk by myself. I look down, see it, and I'm like, hey, stop it. Turn it back around and go, stop. I don't need to be this guy right now. They'll be there, right? But if we all can understand the imposter syndrome is what you feel on your way to becoming what you're trying to be, right? And I like, Brian, the let's build a step in between, right? To do that, because you have to adapt and you have to go forward. Whether you're sliding backwards or you're trying to get yourself better, you have to change who you are along the way. And for us to stop and go, again, if I go out there and go, I'm a billionaire and you all should listen to me, right? I'm flat out lying to you. It's not imposter syndrome. It's when you try to lie to yourself about who you are that it triggers that imposter syndrome. That's why I looked today, Philip. I was like, yeah, mindset. Let's give us some mindset that we can actually go through. So I love the, to be aware, accept where you are, because reality is where you got to start, right? Acknowledge your intention to move forward and what you're doing, right? And I have a t-shirt I put on my store, which is action solves everything.
I love it.
Because again, I was taught this when I was young, that even God can't steer a parked car. Right. And so if you're like, oh, Jesus, take the wheel, Jesus is like, you ain't pressing the gas. Right? What are we doing? I'm just rocking the wheel for you. We ain't going nowhere. Right. Yeah. And then adapting. So again, you work with people. I don't want you to give away the whole coaching program, but when we look at it, yeah, exactly. Dan has no problem. Dan knows 5 questions to ask you. How do you implement awareness? How do you implement accepting? So that goes in. But help me. What's the first step that you have to look and say to someone and sit down and go, okay, we're going to start working together, right? And I'm going to try to unscrew your brain.
Yeah. I mean, the 3 things that I asked for in the beginning is openness, willingness, and commitment. If you give me those 3 things, I truly believe I can give you a result, but you have to have those 3 things. And the last thing I ever want to do is work with someone that's not willing to do those things or be open or committed. And last thing I want to do is waste their time or waste my time. So I try to have by the end of the second call, if you don't like where we're at, I fully refund and stuff like that. Cause I really just want to work with people that I see that I can add value to or help with. So, but to kind of go back to your question, the ego, we've met the ego, I forgot who said it, but he's just like, your ego is not your amigo. And I just thought it was super funny, but it's very true. But every day, like we talked about it, we're stepping into an identity, we're labeling ourselves, and it's okay to have the imposter syndrome, and all the other things that come with it, but it's not okay for it to let us control us. And with me is just, I really want to try to get people to that next step. So I actually, like you guys, with the Superman and some of the other alter egos, is I have people write out 3 different identities. The one's kind of where they're at. Number 2 is where they want to be. And number 3 is just, what's the ideal version of yourself? Like, what's the best of the best? How are you looking, feeling, acting all through the day? So we kind of go through those steps and just bring clarity to where they're trying to go. My program is really designed to create a blueprint for their desired outcome in a way. Because it's not about, a lot of things, we all read books, a lot of the information is already out there, but I think it's the lack of applying it. The information's everywhere. There's billions and billions of information all throughout the internet, but how can you apply that and make it make sense in your life? And that's what I really try to do and help people with, get really clear and stuff like that.
So you mentioned that there's 3 things that you ask of students, potential students. What do you think is most people aren't ready for when they think they want to hire a coach, but what is it that they usually tend to fail versus succeed?
The limitations, just their limiting beliefs a lot of times, or things they're giving meaning to. I've learned in this world, nothing in this world has meaning until you gave it the meaning. So getting a little more aware of what are the things you're giving meaning to? What's your view of reference? Because we all view things differently. So just helping them define their terms, getting a little more clear, and really, stuff like that. I don't know. I hope that answered your question.
Oh yeah, it did.
How did you end up becoming a life coach? Like, how did you go from, skateboard star to life coaching?
So I kind of had, I've always been a person that people have gone to. I used to do like coaching, skating lessons and stuff like that. I've always been like a mentor to people, especially with my father. He was that type of person in other people's lives. So kind of was just a reflection of him in a lot of ways. But from 24 to 28, I had a pretty crazy storm of my own in my life, where just was coming off my skateboarding career. Mom passed away, dad passed away, grandma passed away, girlfriend walked out on me, dealing with drugs, addictions, just trying to fill that void in a way. And then luckily, right around 28, I caught myself, and I just told myself, it's time to become the best version of myself, because the road and trajectory I was on, just it could have been death or jail, and just not in the right state of being. And luckily, when I caught myself, I went, I just told myself, I gave myself a promise. Although my parents and some of my reasons, you know what I mean, I think your reasons and why you're doing things are huge. So clarifying that with people too. But I lost a lot of my reasons. One of my reasons was my mother. And when she was gone, I had to figure out another reason that was bigger than me. And so just went off and did a lot of self-work on my own. But then I started realizing all the work that I did and some of the things I struggled with and overcame. I was like, wow, that's when I started looking kind of into the industry of coaching, mentorship, and just even going to therapy, psychiatrists, I just started realizing every category is at its highest. And you know, I'm not here to down talk anyone's play. I've learned a lot from a lot of other people, but I just looked at it as, you can't tell me these people are doing a good job when everything is at its highest, from depression, anxiety, obesity, just every category. So that, and then kind of seeing a lot of the self-development side or personal development, it's very girl dominated. And I was like, wow, I mean, we look at suicides today, it's a lot of guys, stuff like that. So I just wanted to make a mission, because a lot of my 20s, I didn't realize that a lot of my outcomes or a lot of things that I was doing was all just money driven. You know what I mean? When I had problems, I just go make more money. So me just getting more clear, or me just understanding that making something bigger than me, and I just really wanted to be of value and a service to people, because I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot. I live and raised in one of the, you know what I mean, most influential states or cities in America. You know what I mean, this town was built on losers. A lot of people don't realize that. So it's just, there's so much going on. It's such a fast living here in this city, and just got to see a lot. So I just can hope that I can help people. And I just wanted to pick that instead of just going off and maybe becoming a salesperson in some industry, or trading, or going back to poker, which poker will always be there and I love, but just wanted to do something bigger than me and be a value of service.
Do you find that that's a lot of former athletes that wanted to take that role? So like, I automatically think when you talk about being a former professional skateboarder, I also know Ryan Magin, which I don't know if you know him or not, Magin. He was former pro BMX, and now he helps people do viral videos. And so I was curious, is the former profession of performing for others why you kind of went down the path you did? Because I looked in reading over your bio, after this, you went to creating, so you created experiences for other people with your ability before, but then you went into, what was it? Nightlife services.
Yeah.
So was that helping people get into clubs and things, or what was that?
Yeah, basically we ran a concierge service out here from A to Z, anything to do with entertainment, transportation, hospitality, and stuff like that. So basically, yeah, I was the middleman for giving people experiences out here, and that, and just starting to realize how much that industry needs it. But there's some of the last people I want to look towards it in a way.
Right.
You know, it's towns. I mean, I try to tell people everyone wants to be entertained, but education is where you grow.
Yeah.
So
Well,
just
it's that vampire lifestyle where you end up having to work the crazy hours and everything else. And so, okay.
Never be normal, Brian. Normal people get normal paychecks.
That's
Yes. Yeah, I do see this a lot. So I'm friends with ex-professional skateboarder Sergi Ventura. And Sergi is the one, X Games, all the stuff that went through. And today he's a salesperson, okay, for an organization, but he's also coaching younger kids. Like, he can't get it out of his system to help people. And so now he's coaching a girl that's going to the Olympics for, you know, whatever event she's going in or whatever the sport is. But I look and see everybody who's ever had to be a professional athlete comes out going, in all honesty, I look and go, you all go, man, I was left alone. I was screwed over, right? And I was put through the ringer. And so now I want to come out and watch out for other people.
yeah.
Right.
My favorite is hearing coaching success stories. Would you share a success story that you have with a client?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I've helped people, whether, you know what I mean, whether it's gambling. I was going to kind of mention right before you said something, it's like athletes, they struggle a lot with identity crisis.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You're
Right.
just,
Especially when the sport is done. Yeah.
yeah. And it's just like, what are you going to do now? And it's just like, man, I just gave 30 years of my life and that's all I knew. And what's the next step? So I do, luckily, you know what I mean, from my father and some of my upbringing, I could consider myself a meeting baby. I've been in so many meetings and businesses and watching my dad with the hundreds of deals he had and stuff. And that's one thing I was grateful for, is to think outside the box instead of just looking at stuff in one lane or something like that. But I've had a lot. I mean, one of the ones that really touched me, I feel like, is like my client was one of the first ones that I had. It was this girl, and she was from South Africa, and it was just, she somehow found me online and just trying to talk to her. And at that time, she couldn't afford my program, but I still worked with her for a little bit. And also just starting to realize, like, people, like, trying to explain to her, like, yo, where I'm from, we have a lot of different beliefs, and you know what I mean, where you're born and raised is a lot different from some of the things that might work for me, might not work for you. But I just remember I worked with her, got a little more clear on where she's trying to go. We did a little bit of identity work and stuff like that, and stepped in a little bit to the limiting beliefs. And I just remember when she hit me up like 6 months later, and she's just like, I'm not that little girl no more you were talking to, and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, whoa, like, that's amazing. Like that meant more to me than some of the highest paying clients I've ever had and stuff. So stuff like that. I mean, there's a couple other stories, like, you know, helping people get clear, getting off drugs and stuff like that, getting more involved in, you know what I mean, life and business and stuff like that. Because this town, I'm telling you, there's so many influences. And once you get the money and some of the connections, I mean, you can do anything in this town. And just getting more people a little more clear on what that can lead to.
So have you thought of moving? Or is it just a target-rich environment? Yeah.
Well, it's funny. So
Both.
Vegas has always been home base. I traveled a lot for skateboarding, which was cool. But now, I mean, for speaking, I want to stay more in Vegas because we got all the conventions and stuff like that out here. But I've been thinking about it because I also see an attachment that I have with Las Vegas. I've been here for so long, and maybe it might be good for me to try somewhere else and kind of see what happens. But as of right now, I mean, I used to kind of like these things that I don't like about Vegas, but the more I travel, I'm like, I love Vegas, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's other than our education and our health system out here that are gradually getting better, Vegas is a great place. A lot of opportunity.
You have 8 Cigar Lounge. That's all I care about in Vegas. So
That's the one
that's Brian, Brad, and I go. Yes.
That's the one at Resort World, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was there the other night. Yep.
Yeah.
I've
My brother, yeah, he's directors of operation over there.
Okay.
I
know
gone to
Ian,
Vegas
the
and done
manager.
like fun stuff. Like I jumped off the stratosphere one of the times when we were there. And then there's one I'll tell you about after the show's over.
We don't want to talk about those, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's called Love Cloud. You can look it up.
Yeah. All right. So the 3 things that people need for you, right? It was the openness, the willingness, right? And then the commitment.
Yeah.
Do me a quick favor. Explain to me what you mean by openness, right?
So just kind of more open to change, open to try new things, open to sometimes to hear that you might be in the wrong trajectory. I think there's a lot of different ways we can approach openness and different people, but yeah, just really being open-minded. A lot of times people say they're open-minded, but then you ask them a few questions and it's like, well, that's more of a closed-minded statement. So just getting more people just to acknowledge even what open-minded is and stuff like that.
Okay. And then explain the willingness, because I'm going to tell you right now, the commitment part will filter itself out. But, you know, when you go, oh, there's a commitment, as soon as you say money on anything, you'll find out who's willing to play. But what is it that how do you define that they need to be, you know, the level of willingness that they're going to do this?
So me is just willing to put in the work, you know what I mean? Not just motivated, but committed. And just to me, where we kind of see the improvement is collecting data. You know what I mean? A lot of times we have to realize, you know what I mean? What does the Fortune 500 or Fortune 50 do? They collect data to make decisions. And a lot of business people will look at their CRMs and stuff like that, but it's what data are you creating in your personal life? And so helping people start creating a little data or at least direction in ways, because I also don't like to put a limit on people. I don't want to hear people, oh, I'm trying to make $1 million. I want them to focus more on the progress. So as long as they're willing to put in the progress and put in the work, I think they're going to get to the next level, or at least see a result they haven't seen before.
Fantastic. So now somebody says, I want to work with you. They go to the Linktree page. What do they do when they get there?
So usually they'll opt in, and then we'll hop on a little 15-20 minute call just to make sure it's a right fit for both of us.
That they have 3 things. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of just
The openness, the willingness. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just getting people to stick to the controllables. It's so huge, but we just don't realize how much things that we do daily that are out of our power. So getting them back into the controllables.
I like that part right there.
Yeah,
Stay with the controllables.
Yeah. And to me, you know what I mean? Please, if you guys have any more, I'm still trying to find, but it's your actions, your responses, your choices, your effort/energy. I want to say that's kind of in the same category, and your attitude. Those are the 5 things I help people with, is like, those are the controllables. Everything else, I mean, it's going to be more external.
Eyebrows.
Yeah. Which one,
Totally
when you see
controllable.
people reach out, which one do you think you get the most of those controllables?
I think one of the most important is going to be your responses. Well, how are you responding to things daily?
That's wrong. Oh, no, sorry. That was my response. Never mind. Yes.
But yeah, all about the input output daily, just kind of seeing what their input is and their output.
Right. I gotcha.
Fantastic. Any other questions?
What if somebody has a lack of focus? Different.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Divergent on an, none of these 3, but I'm asking for a friend. If there's different types of things that are drawing you and you're not focusing on a specific, how do you get out of that?
And I moved this all around to break focus on JR while he was talking. I don't know if you noticed that.
To me, I mean, kind of go back to what I mentioned earlier, is the tracking. You start to see how focused someone is or what they're doing by tracking their direction or where they're trying to go. Today, I mean, yeah, distractions they say our attention span's less than a goldfish today and stuff.
Less than 8 seconds. Yep.
Yeah. So it's huge. I mean, that's even something I struggle with. I mean, especially today, this younger generation, so much digital stuff, digital babies nowadays, I guess we call them. But yeah, I think just really practicing, reps are going to get you better, but yeah, just tracking it, and just, if it's hard for you, maybe set the barrier a little bit lower. It's all about just getting a win today. So it's like, oh, not go put 10 hours a day, maybe just put 10 minutes today, and just kind of start stacking the wins and build the momentum. But yeah, no, that's kind of helped me get people kind of back into focus, and then their reasonings. Why are they even doing it? If you're making a reason bigger than your or bigger than what things you see daily, your kind of objections, your emotions. I think that's you're always kind of going back and what are the reasons you're even doing it? And if you're clear on those things, it's going to help you focus on the bigger things.
Fantastic. JR lost focus partway through. Sorry, he didn't. He's watching a video in the background. You can see it in his glasses.
I'm one of these guys. I'm trying to actually open my focus a little more at times, because sometimes being a sniper is not always the best thing. You miss opportunities.
That's true. It's that's why I'm like, focus is huge. And I think focus comes back into the mindset, working with them, understanding that it's okay to, you're going to get distracted, but how long is that distraction going to last? Is it going to last hours, days, months, years, or is it going to last minutes and moments? And that's kind of something that even David Metzer has helped me a lot with, is how do we just live in minutes and moments of disempowering and negative situations, and then right back on the direction or trajectory we want to go in. To me, I truly believe that's mental mastery, is when these things are going to happen, but how long can we make it happen? Because sometimes, I think Dr. Joe talks about it. You end up with a mood, then it turns into a temper tantrum, and then all of a sudden it's a personality trait, and your personality trait becomes your personal reality.
Truth. I did say that many times. Oh, Dispenza. Never mind. Yes. That's funny. So
And even stuff like that. I mean, if you would have talked to me about epigenetics or quantum physics or energy 7 years ago, I would have said, get that crazy shit out of my face.
Mhm.
Let's go make some money. But it's half the things that I thought were crazy or half the things I needed to do.
it's always that way, right? We
That's
put
a
up
good
the
quote,
block.
Stu. Yeah.
Yeah. But you put the block up on the stuff that you know you need because you don't want to actually dig into it.
Mhm.
And so you discount it and throw it away, right?
Well, that
So-
and just finding that story, because every day we're creating some validation to make ourselves feel better about our choices. So it's finding that, you know what I mean? What stories, you know what I mean, really holding you back? You got to find that story. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys have heard, and I've learned even a lot from Tony Robbins and stuff like that. You just got to annihilate that story, because every day we're filling out a story, whether we're aware of it or not.
True.
That we are.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I say thank you very much, Philip, for coming in and sharing with us. Anybody else? Link tree for Philip Meranto. Please go there, check it out, reach out. You're going to do a 15-20-minute meeting. He's going to ask you, are you open, you willing, right? And are you committed? And
Yeah.
so if you're already committed, only call him during the time that the hospital lets you use the phone. And then we'll move on from that point. But thank you so much, Philip. Thank you to the VIPs. Everybody hang out for a minute, but we will end the stream and go out and sell something. Thanks, everybody.
Let's talk about sales, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the challenges that may be. Let's talk about sales. A little bit, a little bit.